Okay, I'm Flavia Zimmerman from the Australian Institute of International Affairs, and today we have with us Geraldine Doogue. Geraldine Doogue is a very experienced broadcaster from the ABC, and today we are going to be discussing some issues regarding media and international politics. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Flavia.
Geraldine.
Nice to meet you.
So wonderful to have you here. Could you please tell us how the Australian media could potentially shape Australian foreign policy identity?
Look, I think the Australian media is not particularly interested in Australia's foreign policy. That's the awful truth, unless it's led by a crisis. And this is very challenging because that is hardly the way in which you would want great coverage in the midst of a crisis. So what I would like to see is much more of an engagement by the more tabloid ends of the Australian media, if I can put it like that, in equipping people to be more engaged, to find the characters interesting, to find the dilemmas interesting, and to encourage them to believe they have a right to have a view. At the moment, I think they leave it to their betters.
Thank you so much. Now, Geraldine, if you could please give us some remarks on the most important issues that we face on global politics.
Well, look, for me, I think it is the coherence of the international rules-based order. This is something that is generally seen in this iteration as being the post-World War II international order, hard won. Loads of people have put their best efforts all over their entire lifetime into creating an international rules-based order, and essentially we have not had a worldwide conflagration. I do wonder whether people are getting rather cavalier about that they think it's just there, when it's in fact the subject of an enormous amount of effort. So I think that's the biggest thing, but does that sound sexy? No. I know it doesn't, but it's so important to engage Australians in realising what a crafted bit of gem a bit of a gem that is.
And particularly take into account that Australia is very much isolated and it is a Western enclave in Asia. It is very interesting in the light of the latest political developments, the impact that Australia could have in the region. Can you just give us some remarks?
Well, the loneliness of a long-distance medium power, as I think Peter Varghese put it today, it was a gorgeous line.
Yes.
We love good lines. Look, I think it's just far too early to be confident about what the election of Donald Trump and Brexit are going to mean. I got both of them so wrong, I'm not prepared to go there. But I do think that Kim Beazley, as the ambassador to the US, and his remarks today, sort of saying Australia really has to learn to disagree respectfully with the US, was very powerful. And I think that juggling act between China, broadly seen as our commercial interests, and America, our sort of great and powerful friend interests, we just got to get a lot better at that, and I think we can. But we'll only do it if we draw the Australian people in. That's my business.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, just expanding a little bit more on the role that media can play in this new international environment. I take into account a Trump presidency and the rise of a populist demagogue, I dare to say. To which extent the media could raise awareness of problems associated with populism and demagogy here in Australia? How do you think the media, in a healthy way, can lead a healthy political debate in Australia to possibly raise awareness to the danger that demagogue leaders they present to a healthy democracy?
Well, you and I might have to subtly disagree here, because I actually think there should be less politics and more about economics, and actually less warnings and more invitation to people to engage and to get involved in their communities and involved in the argument. So actually I am less worried about demagoguery than I am from indifference and lack of engagement. So I believe that when the Australian people generally, broadly speaking, are engaged, we have a far healthier democracy. And the best leaders, in my opinion, down through the century, because we're not we're not young, not old, have, when they've sort of said, there's not this giant gap between the elites and the mob. I hate that, but I'm an intelligent person. I'm going to draw you in. Now that's what I actually believe is the best antidote to demagoguery, but not pointing out, if you know what I mean, pointing out the dangers. Look, there's a lot of that. It doesn't work.
Exactly, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It should, but it doesn't.
Thank you, Geraldine. Now, just as our final remarks, because I know that you're very passionate about gender issues, I would like to know how the media, the power of the media, can be used just to raise awareness of unconscious biases and gender inequality, not only in Australia, but in other places in the world.
Well, look, I have a view about this, and I've written a book on this, that success and competence-led is the very best way to do it, as opposed to whinging. Now, even that, my use of the word whinging, that's pretty value-laden, I know, but I yearn for a discourse which is led by people who have done well, women. We've got a lot of them actually at the moment. Now I appreciate they're at a particular level and there's a huge number underneath, and I've met them here who feel like they're just constantly coming up against things. But we've got to hear people's views about succeeding as opposed to failing. I still think it's the best invitation, and frankly I can learn a lot from someone who's succeeded rather than someone who's sort of notably failed and is disconsolate and despairing.
Yeah.
That's what I seek to do anyway.
Lovely talking to you, Geraldine.
That's my trying. Okay,
That's
okay,
wonderful.
Flavia. Thank you very much.
Great pleasure being with you. Thank you.